Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Erin, a senior tutor here at Test Innovators. And our webinar today is focused on everything you need to know about the ISEE writing sample, or the essay. This webinar will be recorded, so throughout the webinar, feel free to type questions in the comments. If we have time at the end, I'll answer those questions, and we'll also review all the questions after the webinar and respond to everyone who wrote in. I know that we have several different kinds of people here, parents, students, and families, some of whom may work with schools we work with already, some administrators at schools, some tutors, and more. So again, if you have any questions that are specific to your situation, please don't hesitate to contact us after the webinar is over. So first, a little bit about Test Innovators. We're the leading test prep platform for the ISEE and SSAT. We've helped over 45,000 students get into the most selective schools. 45,000 students get into the most selective schools. These are the few of the schools that students who have used our platform have been admitted to across the country. So here at Test Innovators, we've spent years helping students with test prep, and based on that experience, here's what we know. Standardized test taking is a skill that you can master. It's very different from other types of tests that you take in school, and like all skills, you need to learn and practice in order to improve. When you've mastered this skill, you're able to demonstrate all of your knowledge effectively on the test, on the ISEE. Also, we believe that advances in technology make it far easier to prep for the test. Technology allows you to quickly identify your strengths and weaknesses, and then provides the best tools to prepare efficiently and effectively. So these two ideas form the foundation of the tools and the resources we've developed to help students prepare for the ISEE, and they also inform the strategies which I'll be sharing with you in today's webinar. All right, so over the years, we've developed some key strategies for success on the test. Just a tiny bit more background here. These strategies have come from working with admissions departments, feedback from students and our network of tutors that we work with, and from the data collected in our system. So with that, here's our agenda for today. Let's talk about essay preparation. So first, I'll walk you through an overview of the ISEE essay. Then I'll highlight some of the strategies that are important for success on the essay, no matter what level the student is. So let's get started. All right, so first let's talk logistics. The writing sample on the ISEE is one prompt, 30 minutes. It will always be a 30-minute prompt, and it's the last section of the test after a break. So after they do all of the multiple choice, the student will have a break, and then they do the 30-minute writing prompt. The writing sample gives one writing prompt, as I mentioned, that they have 30 minutes to respond to. This will be handwritten on 2 pre-lined pages, just so you know they can't request additional pages. Scratch paper will also be provided for notes and planning. So notes and planning are an important part of the preparation that we'll talk about in a minute here. The ISEE essay gets a lot of questions because it's also the only ungraded section of the test. Now, even though this essay is not scored, it does get sent to schools along with test scores, so it's really important to prepare for it. We'll talk about some strategies for that, but first, let me discuss how it does impact admissions decisions. So as I mentioned, even though it's not scored, the essay is important to admissions departments. It's sent to schools along with the test scores and is read by the admissions committees. So the ISEE essay is used by admissions departments as an indicator of the student's writing ability, but also how the student will fit into their school community, both academically and personally. So while application essays can be edited extensively by parents and by tutors, the ISEE essay is a pure sample of the student's writing. This makes it an extremely important component of the ISEE, as it demonstrates a great deal about a student in terms of what they choose to write about and how well they express their thoughts. Only 30 minutes are permitted for the essay, so the committee is not expecting an extraordinarily long or complex piece of writing. Instead, they're looking to see that the student is able to effectively communicate ideas in writing, to do so with clarity, organization, and elaboration. So lots of examples. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And the essay is also an opportunity for the student to demonstrate what they care about, what is important to them outside of academics, so their values, and what makes them unique. Okay, so let's take a look then at the levels of the essay. So there's the lower level, and this is true for the entire test, of course, the middle level, application for grades 7, 8, and the upper level, which is for application to grades 9 through 12. Now, for all three levels, the ISEE essay is going to be very similar. It will ask the students to write a descriptive essay, meaning that the student must explain their thoughts in response to an open-ended prompt. Now, depending on the level of the student, the prompt gradually will increase in difficulty based on the level of the test that they're taking. However, the prompts won't be too complicated and will ask simple questions meant to demonstrate the student's interests and values. So let's look at a few examples of what these prompts might look like. For lower level, the prompt would say something like, tell how you can make a new friend. Middle level, discuss reasons for appreciating your family. And upper level, describe a community service project you'd like to complete. Now, as you may notice, none of these prompts require prior knowledge. So they're different from school essays in that way. Additionally, they focus on issues that are contemporary and of interest, specific interest to the student. The most important thing is to focus on making a good point and convincing your reader of that point. Now, none of these essay prompts have a right answer. Topics might ask, in addition to these samples that I've shown, they might ask about a student's favorite book, a relative, a season, dream job, dream vacation, or to look at a problem in the world and talk about how to solve it. Again, no outside information necessary, no right answer, simply requiring the student to take a position and then explain why you chose this position and try to convince the reader. All right, so let's talk about strategies for succeeding on the essay. All right, a few big things to keep in mind while working on the essay. First, outline. So before you start to write, outlining is really important to help clarify and structure your thoughts. And we'll get into this more in a minute here. 2, stay focused on a main point. So decide on the main point and make sure it answers the essay prompt. So making sure to answer the prompt is very important. It's important to demonstrate that you can stay focused and stay on topic throughout the whole essay. Next, give good supporting details. So have 2 or 3 points that support the main idea and give good descriptive details and examples for them in each of the body paragraph. So making sure that the body paragraphs have specific evidence to support the points, even better if it's evidence from the student's life or perhaps anecdotes, good reasons, and details. And then, most importantly, express yourself. So through this essay, the schools are trying to learn more about the student and what you care about. So let them get to know you. Be sure through all of this to present yourself in the best possible light, avoiding anything that could be construed negatively by the reader. One way to do this, to present oneself well, is to talk about a topic that represents you in a positive light. Show how you've grown through something that you've experienced. Show how you're part of a community, demonstrate leadership potential, that sort of thing. And then lastly, again, these are just general strategies. Always take time at the end to edit your essay. Check mechanics, making sure you use spelling, correct spelling, capitalization, punctuation, and grammar. All right, so these are the biggest and most important things to keep in mind. Let's talk a little bit now about how to manage your time while working on the essay. So one of the things, of course, that's tough about this assignment is that it's 30 minutes to plan, write, and edit, which isn't a situation that a lot of students of this age have found themselves in before. So here's our recommendations for time management. In terms of managing your time, first spend about 5 minutes planning or outlining your essay. Now, outlining can look different to different students. Some students prefer, Roman numerals. Some students use a graphic organizer. That's up to you. And, I always recommend using an outlining system that you learned in school. But I would spend about 5 minutes. During this time, come up with your main point, decide on the reasons and examples you want to include in your body paragraphs, and think about how you would structure each paragraph. So which examples are you going to put in each paragraph? As I mentioned at the beginning, you will have scratch paper provided, so use this to plan your essay before you start writing on it. Then the bulk of your time, of course, you want to spend writing. Now, be very careful not to spend too much time planning and then kind of sell yourself short on the essay. The admissions committee, of course, will only see the essay. They won't see the outline that you wrote. So make sure that that planning time is focused on organizing your thoughts and coming up with your main points, and then the bulk of your time is spent writing. So during your writing time, I recommend following the essay structure that many students have learned in school. Introduction, at least 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. So make sure this stays organized and on topic. Each body paragraph should include only details that are relevant to that particular paragraph. So decide in your planning time what each paragraph is going to be about, and then make sure that those paragraphs stay focused. Elaborate on your ideas and reasons in the body paragraphs with examples, stories, explanations. Then make sure that your writing includes transitions to connect your ideas and help the essay flow smoothly. So topic sentences, concluding sentences, etc. All right, so again, introduction, at least 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. All right, so then with your remaining time, 3 minutes, I say roughly. Again, all of these are roughly. So just be careful not to spend too much time on the planning and the editing portions of it. The bulk of your time should be spent writing, but you do want to take a little bit of time to edit and polish. During the editing and polishing time, capitalization, organization, punctuation, and spelling. So focus on those things that will make your writing look polished, and even if you have to cross things out and change a word, it shows that you were able to correct your mistake as you're working. Last thing to remember with the editing is that this is going to be handwritten, so you want to have your handwriting be legible, if not beautiful. That also goes into this idea of presentation and helping yourself to present yourself well to the admissions committee. Handwriting is a part of that also. All right, so we've talked about the most important things to remember throughout the essay section, time management strategies, so how to break up that 30 minutes into planning, writing, and editing. So now that I've finished going into detail about the essay, let's put it back into the context of preparation. So to achieve success in the essay, most important thing is to practice. I have it written here 3 times, so I'll say it. Practice, practice, practice. So the most important thing here, as I mentioned before, a lot of students have not taken or have not had the opportunity to write essays in this short of a time before. So making sure that there's plenty of practice writing timed essays, focusing on time management techniques. So After doing a few practice essays, it will become clear which part of the essay is hardest for you. So then also break it down and practice each part of the essay. So perhaps the planning portion is really difficult for you. You have a hard time coming up with a topic, or you have a hard time coming up with reasons. So then spend some time just working on the planning section of the essay. Maybe the writing is hard for you because you have a hard time breaking your writing up into paragraphs, including good topic sentences. So then spend some time just working on that portion of it. Or maybe you have a hard time identifying your own errors when you're editing. So perhaps spend some time just looking at your writing and spending time on editing. So specifically focusing on time management, but also practicing each of the elements of writing. It will soon become clear which ones are your weaknesses and which ones you should focus on improving. All right, so that wraps up our brief overview of our strategies here. Going into detail on the strategies, your time management, and how to prepare for the essay. So feel free to visit our website, ISEEpracticetest.com, to view our materials, resources, and tips for essay preparation. And then again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, whether you're a parent, student, school administrator, tutor, or anyone else, if you have any questions specific to your situation, please don't hesitate to contact us. I have my email up here, as well as our support team email. As I mentioned, I'm one of the senior tutors here at Test Innovators, so I'm happy to answer questions, and the support team is as well. So please don't hesitate to contact us. All right, now let's take a few minutes to go over the questions that we've been asked during the presentation. So, okay, so here's a great question. How would we edit a handwritten essay? So, what I recommend, first of all, you will be writing in pencil, of course, because this is the ISEE test, so you will have your number 2 pencils to work on it. So you can erase and change words, that kind of thing. If you decide that there's a whole sentence that you want to change, or a phrase, perhaps more than one word, what I recommend is drawing a single line and then writing what you wanted to write either above it or in the margin. So a single line, you can edit your work in a way that is still neat, but just making sure that you're editing, if you add words, put a little caret and then write the word above it, but making sure that your editing also looks neat. All right. And here's another question here. So someone else asked, how many paragraphs should we write in our essay? So as I mentioned before, the most important thing to focus on here is making sure that you follow an essay structure that you've learned before and that is consistent with what you've learned in school. So if you have learned a 5-paragraph structure, that's what I would recommend. Have an introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and the conclusion. If you do know how to insert other body paragraphs in between that, that's great. One thing I would recommend, or that I would focus on, is that it's more important to have a well-organized essay than to have a really, really long essay. So if your essay is 5 paragraphs, then that's better than having an essay that is 8 paragraphs and is perhaps not as good. So it's better to have a structured, strong essay rather than a long essay. And I do want to correct something I said just now about the editing. The ISEE essay is written in pen, but you can use erasable pen. So for editing, if you're using a ballpoint pen that's not erasable, then you can edit by crossing things out with a single line and writing neatly above it. If you have an erasable pen, then you're able to erase and write in the same spot. So again, apologies for that. The most important thing with the editing is to make sure that it's neat. All right. Another question, is there a difference between the test questions for students entering 7th or 8th grade? So for students who are in the same level but in a different grade, the question will be the same. So you will have the same question no matter which grade you're in the level. Again, the questions are open-ended and are intended to be challenging. So they're intended to be an opportunity for you to show what you care about and to show that you can write an organized essay. So the test questions won't be any different. They'll be a little bit more challenging for the middle level than the lower, and for the upper level than the middle, but there's not a distinction among grades in the level. All right, here's a question. If someone is taking the exam next week, what can they do in the next few days to work on the essay? Which is a great question. So what I would say on this is if you have a week to plan, just do a few sample essays to practice writing the essay in this amount of time. So again, and I can't emphasize this enough, planning, writing, and editing an essay in 30 minutes is no small task, and it's not something that a lot of students have done. So writing a few sample essays will do a few things. A, it will expose the student to the range of topics that they might see. So the topics can be, as I mentioned before, pretty much anything open-ended. It can be about relatives, it can be about places you want to move, it can be about books you've read. There's all kinds of things that will be asked. So doing a few practice ones will expose them to the range of topics and then also help them to plan, write, and edit in that amount of time. All right. Let's see if there's one more question here. And again, for ones that we don't get to today during the webinar, we'll always respond to them afterwards. There's only one prompt. There won't be multiple prompts. So here's a question asked about choosing topics. So should we answer staying with one topic? So yes, the most important thing as far as topic is to choose something that you know about and that you care about and that presents you well, and then sticking with that topic through the whole essay. So making sure that you stay on topic is a really good way to show that you're organized and that you're able to write structured writing. So if the prompt, for example, is about a favorite relative, don't pick 3 relatives and then write each paragraph about one. It's going to be stronger to just pick one person and then have each body paragraph be different reasons or examples of why that person is so special. So pick one topic and go into it in a detailed and thorough way rather than choosing a few topics and perhaps not making as good of an argument for it. All right. So again, more personal or specific questions we can get to individually. If there's any other questions, my email is here, our support email is here, and again, show you, here's our website for our practice materials. We have quite a few essay prompts available there, and we also have the opportunity for you to receive individual individualized essay feedback from our team also. So if you have any other questions, feel free to email us. And thank you so much for being with me and listening to this overview of the ISEE writing sample. So good luck with the prep. Again, if you just have a few days, the first thing to work on is just doing some practice essays and exposing the student to what this experience is like. Best luck with test prep. Thank you.